Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time for us to be talking about coping with stress, something about which I have plenty of knowledge, apparently. And I just wanted to say a very warm welcome to all of you. Hi there, Jeannie. I just wanted to say to all of you, whether you are here in the room talking now or on the replay, how much we appreciate the fact that you actually take the time to listen to what this group of people, because that's what we are at DearMamaSal, we're a group of people who get together 3 times a week to make sure that we have support in coping with our lives. And I think with everything that's going on in the world today, it's a really important thing to have, to know that you've got people around you that will listen to you, people around you who will care about what's going on in your life and maybe give you some pointers as to what you might be able to do, options. People don't want you to be fixed, they want options. And once they got options, they can make their own decisions because they're adult and they can do that. And so for all of you who are watching, a very big thank you from me. We get together 3 times a week, lunchtime Fridays, that's lunchtime 12 noon Pacific time, because I'm in Southern British Columbia in Canada, in case you don't recognize what that means. Where we talk about, at lunchtime on Fridays, we talk about coping with feelings, and we all have those. And then on Friday evening at 7 o'clock Pacific, we talk about coping with life, because we all have to do that. And then here on a Sunday afternoon, we talk about coping with stress. And so what I wanted to do is to let you all know that my day started really stress-free today, and then it changed. And some of you probably know all about that sort of feeling. So what I'm going to do is just get right into it and let's move on. And I will tell you what happened and what we did about it. So my topic for today is about, if you will, literally pacing your stressors. And I say pacing your stressors because we all have stress. You know, I just hit the wrong button, don't you? We all have stress, and stressors are the things that stress us. Now, you know, depending on our experiences, different things will stress us more than others. And so let's move on to this one. So here I was doing pretty well today when I got up, and I was actually, you know, thinking that my house is beginning to look almost box-free, except for one room, and which was wonderful. For those of you who don't know, I suffered a fire back in September, and I've just moved back in. I've been back in 2 weeks. And Jeannie here, who is also in the room, she suffered a fire back a year ago, and her whole house was destroyed, and she's about to move back in June. So we both have experiences of this. So when I woke up today and I started to get everything ready for today's broadcast, that was the topic that came to me yesterday, that I needed to talk about coping with pacing our stressors. And it's funny because the whole weekend I've been talking about pacing ourselves. And I thought that's really strange. Why should I talk about pacing your stressors? But, you know, I've lived long and hard, and I know not to query when my brain tells me what it is we need to talk about. I don't mess with it. There's always a reason. So I did. I put it down and said, okay, that's what I'll talk about. And then this morning I got up and I heard from my dear friend Yvonne, who, as some of you know, was my tenant for just about 20 years. And just really, you know, my very best friend on all sorts of levels. And it's been heartbreaking that all during the pandemic, I haven't been able to go and hug her and talk to her. And, you know, we have a very interesting dynamic between us. We both treat each other like adults, not like children. And we are really quite funny to one another. Anyway, so I heard from Yvonne, and what she told me was that there was a fire at the house I used to own. And that happened yesterday. And I'm just going to draw for you what happened because that will make it more sense. Now, obviously, I'm a little bit sensitive for anything to do with fire. And if you can imagine, this was my house, and then it had a backyard, and then this was my neighbor, Roger. And then obviously, not obviously, but there was another neighbor over the fence here and another neighbor over the fence there. And Roger had a little garden shed on this corner, and this neighbor built a garden shed on this corner. Now, why they both chose to build their garden sheds that way, I don't know, except there's a dirty great tree here. And maybe, I don't know. Anyway, here's what happened. This shed, okay, caught fire last night. And it burned the tree. This is a very old standing tree. Burnt quite a lot of the bark off this tree. It completely destroyed Roger's shed. It completely destroyed this part of the fence on the property I used to own, and it destroyed this fence. Now, here's the interesting thing. When I lived in the house, I never locked the doors. Actually, that's not true. When I first knew Yvonne, when I first moved in there, I used to lock the doors between her section of the house and mine. But after about 2 months, I was pretty sure that I was pretty safe. And in fact, I always said that I think Yvonne cared about my house more than I did in some ways. And so I stopped locking the doors between us. And I've never, ever regretted that. Anyway, so here's the thing. The people who bought my house don't have that trust level of Yvonne yet. And that's their business. I can't convince them to do otherwise. But what it meant was, when I lived there, Yvonne always had a secondary escape route, which was through my lobby to the outside and go straight across to the front door. So what happened, and this is why it's important, I just realized what happened was, if this is the backyard and this is the house, Yvonne's only escape route was out this way, and then around the house and out. Make sense? So, but the problem was, all this was in flame. You can imagine that was pretty scary. So, being the mother clucker that I am, I went cluck, 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 cluck. Yvonne, you need to talk to them about a secondary escape route. Because when I lived there, she could have gone, instead of having to go out around the house that way, she could have gone through the garage or through the front door. Why? Nothing was blocked for her. And, I realize that's none of my business. I don't live there anymore. And I do realize that stressing about it is not going to help Yvonne. The only person who can help Yvonne, it will be Yvonne. And so, obviously she needs to talk to the owners about that could have been a very dangerous situation. And maybe things will change. Maybe they won't, but maybe they will. So do you understand that me worrying myself sick about Yvonne is not going to help her? This is always a learning moment, right? But human nature says that I will care. And Jeannie obviously cares as well. And Jody obviously cares as well. All right. So, but there's nothing that is, our being concerned doesn't help Yvonne. And right. And Jody's saying, of course you're stressed about it. She's my best friend. Right. And, it's fire. How many of you realize, and I'm pretty certain Jeannie has the same reaction, you even hear the word fire anywhere, and part of, you relives that. Am I right, Jeannie? Just at the word. So I apologize, Jeannie, if I caused any post-traumatic here, but, just the idea of fire. you relive some of that. And that's quite normal. So how is this about pacing the stressors? It's really important for me to feel the feelings. We know that, right? And I need to feel all all that. And Jody, I really, Jody's saying, when you went through your home fire, I cried for 3 days. It didn't help me one bit, Jody. I know you love me dearly, and I know that you felt it at that deeper level. And part of me loves you for it. But that didn't really help me a whole stack, did it? Which is what you would like to have done. You probably thought it wasn't fair, and of all people, why did it happen to Sal? And all that stuff, But I know you well enough that when you shake your head, you go, it really didn't help. Right? What it did was, we get, in a way, we get very selfish, right? It's how do I feel? I felt so helpless. That's exactly what I relate to, because I was busy talking to Yvonne and saying things like, you might want to discuss an alternative escape route with them, and all sorts of things. And then I realized I was being a mother clucker. So I said, I want to apologize, Yvonne. I'm clucking, but I hope you hear the love. And she said, of course I do. And she said, I felt exactly the same when you had your fire. Jeannie's saying, yes, a Durham Fire Department, that's where she lived, had a video of fires and firefighters that went on between 2019 and 20. The last fire was theirs, all right, Jeannie's fire. I saw the back door in heavy flames. That's where I got out with Misty. Yeah, and we're so glad that you did. So very glad that you did. And so, I just want to apologize, as I said, that if I have created any post-traumatic for you, not intentional, I just needed to tell the story. Because it's important how I process this and how you process it. It's important that we pace our stressors. All right, so I can feel it all. And by the way, after about 2 hours of texting back and forth, I then realized I hadn't asked the question I probably should have started with, which was, can I do anything? And I said, you'll forgive me that it took me 2 hours to get to that question. But I said, I know you well enough that if I could, you probably would have told me already. And, because that's who we are. We're very pragmatic sort of people. That's an upmarket way of saying very realistic, where we live in the present. So I said, I'm pretty sure that you would have told me already, but just in case, let me ask the question. Is there anything I can do to help you right now? And she wrote back and said, no, you're absolutely right. Nothing. And so she said, I know how you feel, because I felt it when you had your fire, totally useless and unable to do anything. And I went, you see, what do I know about Yvonne? She, like the rest of us, loves to laugh. So I wrote back and said, well, if we've established that, then how about you go away, not using those words, because I've got a broadcast to get ready for. And she wrote back, you could just hear her laughing, which is what I wanted. All right, that was my mission, was to make her laugh. So this was called, okay, well, if we've sorted all that out, then go away. Because I've got a broadcast to get ready for. But I knew that she wouldn't hear that in anything other than the humor with which I meant it. And that to me is really, really all about, it helped us both, all right? Because I knew she would laugh. And, she would never dream that I was not caring. She just knows me better. And so I wanted to just talk to you about something that happened to me. Some of you might have heard the story before, but the reason I'm going to repeat it is it's about controlling your stresses. I used to be a professional speaker, and I was doing a speech down in Seattle in Washington State. And for some reason, I know what the reason was, but it sounds egotistical. Anyway, what happened was I had done a small breakout session in the morning. And it was very funny. And so many people tried to get into it that literally the fire marshal person had to come in and say, we can't put any more people in here, because people could hear the raucous laughter and they're going, what on earth's going on? And they all came to find out, and there I was. And the speech I was doing was about the power of positive procrastination. And, I'm a great believer in that. Anyway, so what happened was I was the keynote speaker for lunch. And it was the last day of the conference. So, most people just go. It's like they're not going to wait for me. But what happened, because so many people had talked about how funny I was, all these people suddenly wanted to have lunch. People who were not booked to have lunch, which caused a little bit of a problem in the kitchen. And also, it meant that they had to get more tables in, more chairs in, and everything else. And so the organizer said to me, so I'm sorry, we're going to need to wait for a while, before we can put you up to speak. And I said, I totally understand that, but I have a question for you. And he said, what's that? And I said, would you rather I spoke for less time then? And he said, no, it's okay. We can run late. And I said, no, you can. I can't. You see, I need to be back into Canada today, and I need to be doing another speech by 6 o'clock tonight in Canada. So you might be able to extend the time frame here, but my stress level is no, I can't, because if I do, I will run late. And there is no reason I need to put myself under that stress. And he said, well, what about all this going on? And I said, I can control that if you let me. Just give me that microphone. I can control it all for you. And I can give them their money's worth before I go. And he said, go for it. I said, fine, I will. And I stood up and I, in my usual way, got everybody's attention. And I said, okay, all you guys standing at the back. All of you standing at the back. Here's the situation. I need to be leaving here in about 3/4 of an hour. And I've told the organizer that I'm pretty sure you'd rather hear me than be sitting down and hear me, because that's why you're in the room. However, know that I am going to give them permission to carry on moving the chairs and bringing in more tables. And by the way, guys, just want to warn you, you're probably not going to have the food that everybody else is eating, because they weren't expecting you in here. And so the question is, by a show of hands or very loud voices, can I go ahead even though all this is going on, so I can give you your money's worth? And of course, everybody went, go for it. Yeah, go. Yeah. Well, I said, there we go. So I turned to the organizer. I said, right, now that we've sorted that out, let me continue. And I did. You see, I needed to control the stress for me. And if I had run late, it would have caused far more stress. So do you understand, as adults, it is our job to control our stressors. Now, do you also understand, I use the word our stressors. Hi, Nasha. The reason I say that is because, do you all get it, that Jeannie and I are likely to be more highly stressed about the word fire than perhaps other people who've never had to, go through one. I've been through 2 in my life now. And so, I think in a way it helped me on the second one, because I had been through a fire before. And it was, it was just like I had experience of that. And I knew that panicking was not going to help me one bit. So controlling our stresses is a very, very important part of our life. And I saw a really nice quote and it said, quiet minds, think about this, quiet minds cannot be perplexed or frightened, but go on in fortune or misfortune at their own private pace, like a clock during a thunderstorm. Don't you love that picture? Apparently my my system does. Like a clock during a thunderstorm, right? I think that's such a beautiful analogy, that our job is to stay at the same pace as far as possible. Now, obviously, if you've got something like a fire going on, it isn't too easy to do. But I also, when I was talking to Yvonne, reminded her that it is their house and they have every right to lock the doors. But being who I am, I'm a plan B person. You know that. I don't think about plan A and things. I always think, if plan A doesn't work, what's plan B? I always have it in my mind. I nearly always have at least one other option. And what I said to Yvonne, I said, you may want to actually check with the rent control people whether you have the right to have a second exit. And I'm not sure about that in British Columbia. It never was an issue for me because I knew they needed a second exit. All right, that was a no-brainer to me. So I made sure they had 3. Yeah, that's who I am. You know, so, but that required trust. That required trust that if they wanted to go through my garage, they weren't going to rip me off on the way. Or if they wanted to go through my front door, that they weren't going to come upstairs while I was out and rob me. That's called trust. And why wouldn't her present landlords trust her? It's not about her, because we know she is highly trustworthy, and I told them that. However, you see, they've been damaged in some way. Somebody has ripped them off at some time, and that's why now their boundaries are locked in, that they don't trust anybody, right? Does that make sense? And I said to Yvonne, just understand that they might still not choose to give you a second exit. So therefore, you know, let's think of other ways. And I've already started thinking about other ways for her. By the way, I'm not sure if Chris will hear this, but Chris, if you should hear this broadcast, I wanted to make sure that I gave you our thoughts and prayers, even though you haven't given us permission for that. But I know that you said something at the end of the broadcast on Friday about your father, I believe, that he'd had the vaccine and then got COVID. And so I just wanted to send you all our thoughts and prayers and let you know that we're thinking of you. Hi, Kimmy, good to see you. Talking about birthdays and special days, it's Ramadan coming up, for those of you who know about Ramadan. And the reason I say that, it's one of those things where you probably know the word, and some of you may even know what it's all about. So I thought I'd just make sure that we all understand that millions of Muslims around the world will mark the start of Ramadan on Thursday. Yeah? And it's a month of intense prayer, dawn to dusk fasting, and nightly feasts. Here's a look at some of the, you know, and so what I wanted to, hi, Chris, he's doing it good. I am pleased. I am so pleased you're here, and I am so pleased to hear that. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you for letting us know that. So, so when we talk about Ramadan, understand that really, Jody, I was thinking, you know, when I was going, well, I need to put up something in case anybody doesn't know what it is. I was thinking dusk to dawn. I don't know what it is where you live, but at the moment here in southern British Columbia, dawn is at 6:25 a.m. and dusk here is at 5:58, so call it 8 o'clock. So from 6:30 until 8 o'clock, no food may pass your lips. And I was thinking, Jody, I don't know why. When I was thinking about this, I thought it's called fasting, right? It's called intermittent fasting for a month. And, you know, it's not as big a deal to me now as it would have been before I met you, Jody, and learned about intermittent fasting. I actually think I could do it. But you do understand that it's for a full month. And every day that it goes forward, the time is slightly longer, right? Because if you think about it, yeah, as we get closer to the middle of the year, the days get slightly longer every day. And so, but I thought it was it's rather interesting that, and probably if you think about it, the reason that it was first started was for health reasons. You know, it's a really good thing to purge your body. Oh, so Chris is letting us know. It's okay for me to repeat that, Chris? I just want to double check because that's a very important thing. Okay, so Chris is saying that his daddy is actually isolated in his room. So he's at home. He's well enough to be at home at this point. So that is awesome. So, well, hi, Nada. I'm glad to hear that you're tidying. And any way you want to listen to us, as long as you're there, I'm happier. You know, there's something, I don't know what it is about you, Nada, but my life is always much brighter once I know you're listening. I don't know why that is, but it's true. So I was looking at what other day is it? Because, you know, what I've realized is it's not just one day. And what I found out is that it is a lot of other days as well. And hang on, I've got to get to it. I know that it's National Fondue Day. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Hang on, I'm going to get what other day it is. It's National Barbershop Day. Barbershop Quartet Day, rather. It's National Cheese Fondue Day. It's National 8-Track Tape Day. Do any of you remember that? It's National Pet Day, so tell Taylor that we're thinking of him. And National Submarine Day. Who knew there were so many different days today? Well, there we go. So, I don't know about you, but it's just like, really? Oh, and Jeannie's telling us it's National Autism Awareness Month. Now, that's important to us all, but particularly for Jeannie, because it's within her family. She has a grandson who has autism, and it is possible that other people do as well. And that is saying it's National Everything Day. I also wanted to say to the viewers that have been around a bit longer, there are 2 birthdays this week from the old-time viewers of Dear Mama Sal. Boston Paul, his birthday is tomorrow, the 12th. And for those of you who remember Adam, the ballet dancer, I don't know why, but whenever I think about Adam, I think about him dancing in the Nutcracker. It's his on the 14th. So I just wanted to let you know about that. How about this for a quote? I don't care if you're religious or not, and think the message is at the end of the day, everybody has to mature and everybody has to heal and mend their own injuries, emotional injuries, and do it at their own pace. What happened to them, asks Kimmy. They moved on. That's part of life. You know, I'm pretty sure they still love me dearly, but their lives changed and they moved on and did other things. So I'm okay with that. What about you guys? I do know that if ever they need help, they know where to come back to. That's the main thing for me. And by the way, it has happened every now and then. So I got a question for you. What temperature do you keep your house at? I thought we ought to discuss that. What is the sort of average temperature that you like to keep your house at? Because I was thinking that if we're trying to save money, maybe we should have a look at that. Kimmy's saying in her house it is 72 degrees. All right. And for those Canadians, do the math, you know, or get your calculators out. Wow. Chris is in Florida, and that's important. He says they keep theirs at 78. In other words, they only cool it to 78. Kimmy's saying even at 72, she is cold all of the time. So do you feel it in your extremities or do you feel it through your whole body? See, Jody keeps her temperature at the mid-60s in her house. And Nada says, I prefer to be on the chillier side, not cold, but sort of neutral kind of. And Jeannie's saying, our apartment is set at 70 degrees and is often very cold. You see, Kimmy's saying that she feels the cold in her whole body. So that's why I wanted to discuss it. Like everything else in life, when we control our stresses, do you understand they are as different as our body's ability to take temperature? So some of you are going, you know, if you had to live at 78 degrees, you'd probably be sweating, especially those of you who live with your house temperature at 60, all right? Whereas for Chris, the 78 is pretty cool. Not cool necessarily, but it's not that hot. And Kimmy's saying for her, if she gets too cold, it sets her asthma off as well. Now, how many of you go, if it gets too cold, I go and put on different clothes? You see, I found that I have started keeping my temperature slightly lower than normal. Nada's saying, I feel ill when I'm too warm, like when I go to my grandparents' house. And Kimmy's saying, I want to put the thermostat at 65. Do all of you drop your temperature at night? I mean, you have one, I have about 3 different settings on mine that I go through. First of all, when I get up, the house temperature is in the low 60s. All right. And so then what I do is I get up, and once I start to feel that it's cool, I actually knock the heat up. And I push it up so that I can go and have my shower and do all those sort of things in a warm house. And then, funny enough, I drop it back down again. Once I've had my shower and got dressed and everything else, I put it back down to about the mid to high. Now, I would say about 68, somewhere around there. And then at night, as soon as I start to feel it, because, you know, when the floors here are really cold, when I can start feeling, you know, if I'm in my bare feet, if I can feel how cold the floors are, then I will put it back up again. And I'll put it back up until about 70. Sometimes I've even put it up to higher than that, whatever it takes so that I'm comfortable. But then again, when I go to bed, I knock it right back to the low 60s. But not when I go to bed. There's a difference between what time I go to bed and what time I go to sleep, right? So if you want to save some money, you might want to invest in a thermostat that does that for you. I actually asked them to put a new thermostat in here, but they didn't, so I'm going to live with what I've got. All right, so Kimmy's saying at night, I have a thick blanket and a house coat or a sweater on. Yes, have you thought about wearing a toque? I don't know why a toque, as in a beanie. It's a Canadian thing, yeah. The word toque. So, because what I found is that, you know, there's a reason why they wore nightcaps in the olden days. All right, one was to keep the hair under control, but the other is because your biggest amount of heat is lost through your head. I'm sure you know that. So, yeah, Kim is saying that her heater is off now. You mean off completely now? Or just off at this moment? Judy's saying York is her husband, loves a heavy woolen blanket in winter, but I sleep on top of the blanket because it's too much for me. Yes. And that is the whole thing. You know, when sharing a bed, it's, you know, everybody has their own stress level as what heat is. And so that is important. So just give that a little bit of thought. Maybe it's not about wearing more clothes. Maybe it's wearing clothes that hold the warmth better. And, you know, Kim is saying, It's off during the day when it's warm enough. There you go. Yes, and that's good. So you feel it in the evenings, and that's okay, Kimmy. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not suggesting you change that. But what you might want to look at is the type of clothes you're wearing. I hear you say that you have a warm blankie that you put around you as well when you're sitting. The other thing I found, the more active I am, the less I feel cold. Isn't that weird? In other words, if I'm busy doing stuff, I don't feel as cold. It's only when I start to sit and do nothing that I start to feel cold. Kimmy's saying, I do wear a winter cap on my head or a hoodie in the house. Clever. So I thought I'd have a little learning moment for you all. I wonder if you have heard about people talking in terms of COVID internationally about the fact that some cultures are what they call tight cultures and some are loose cultures, and it is affecting the rate of the spread of COVID. Has anybody heard about that or seen any of the research on it or anything? And I thought I'd just quickly talk about it in case you do start hearing about it and wonder what it is. A tight culture would be something like China, Taiwan, Singapore. In other words, a country where they very tightly control the people. Korea, North Korea, all right, where the people are very tightly controlled. And what they are saying is that in those tight cultures, the spread of COVID is less than in the loose cultures. And of course, I hate to say this, but the major one that they talk about is the loose culture of the US or Brazil and the United Kingdom, for example, where the spread has been greater because of the culture. Does that make sense to everybody? Because people do not obey the rules the same way, all right? They think it's a restriction of their civil liberties and all sorts of things. And that is why the spread in those particular areas is far greater. Does that make sense to everybody? Got any questions on that? I have one more comment to make about it because I think it's important that you also remember this. And that is, Mexico is also one of them. You're quite right, Kimmy. Thank you. Thanks for adding that. I forgot to mention Mexico. And so here is what they said. This is the difference between a tight and a loose culture. But for me, I also ask the question, is the reason they have less in the tight cultures because we don't have all the facts? I've got to ask that question. Now, interestingly enough, one of the tight cultures turns out to be New Zealand. All right? Isn't that interesting? Why? Because the moment that started to spread in New Zealand, they put down the clamps and everybody obeyed it. And then they, so you've got to look at it and go, it's about the common good. And I think that's what you're looking at is some people believe in obeying the rules for the common good. Now, interesting, Chris is saying that his brother does not believe in COVID because of his church. And he is not alone. An awful lot of churchgoers are being told that it is a hoax. And it's difficult, isn't it, Chris? Because you're going, don't drink the Kool-Aid here. And I keep trying to say to people, be very careful and be very careful to protect yourself, as you know. All right. And Kimmy's saying we have the facts, but a lot of people still think it's a lie. And we will not convince them otherwise. That's the sad thing. We will not convince them otherwise. Now, also in the news this week, and I thought I'd just run it by you because, I love to discuss these things with you. I hope you enjoy these little factoids when I find them. Because to me, I go, wow, I'm pretty certain the viewers would like to hear about that. Did you hear that Janet Yellen, the US Secretary of the Treasury, has called for the world, all right, to come up with an international minimum corporate tax rate, for the world to do that? Now then, why would she do that? The reason is because, as some of you know, certain countries have a very low tax rate, which then means that some corporations will move their businesses to those countries so they have to pay, so they can pay less tax. I'm thinking about Monaco was one for a long time. The Cayman Islands was another one. You know, it's like there are all sorts of places where their tax rates are so low that they supposedly put their head offices based in those areas so that they can take advantage of the minimal tax. So what Janet Yellen is saying, if the whole world says to the corporations, it's going to be the same tax rate everywhere, then that will stop. People will stay at home. Interesting fact, huh? Do I think she'll get it? I doubt it. But like everything else in life, once you start talking about it, maybe it will catch on. And maybe, not in my lifetime, but maybe by some of your lifetimes, it might actually happen. I think it's a good idea myself. Unboxing time. Anybody want to see what I unboxed since Friday? All right. By the way, if you like those little news factoid things, make sure you let me know. I drop them in every now and then, but I'm never quite sure if you guys actually. Yes, please, from Jody. Yeah, I know that, Jody. For those of you who don't know, Jody is our admin. She better like them. Oh, thanks. Jeannie loves my maple leaf. I have power. Now, you will remember that I was struggling because I could not do something with something I was trying to build, and that I needed a drill, and my drill is still in the shed somewhere, packed in a box that was not necessarily well marked. And then I remembered that that drill is extremely heavy. It was fine when I was in my 40s, but now that I've got arthritis, not a good idea because it was so heavy. So I ordered up a lighter one, and you like the color. I don't think any guys are going to steal this one. But it came in its own little pouch. Don't you think that's cute? And I got, hang on, there's more. And I got a set of bits for it, which was very useful. But they also gave me, I'll find them in a second, hold on. Hang on, getting there. A set of these. Okay? You know how many sets of that I've got? It's one there, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you're going, why don't you throw some of them away? Because of what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday was I started to make what I needed to do, and then the next bit of construction required an Allen key. You know what an Allen key is, everybody? Do I have an Allen key here? Wait. Allen key. I got one in here. Okay, this is an Allen key. All right, it looks like a 7. Yeah, so that's an Allen key. And, you know, really, I was struggling with this Allen key because of my arthritis. And then I thought, I wonder if one of those many sets of these things have an Allen key thing. None of these did, the ones that came with it. Hang on a second. Right, so none of those did, none of those did. This one probably would have worked. Anyway, what I found out, though, was my original one had an actual Allen key type top to it. Saved my whole life. And so what would have been really hard on my wrists suddenly turned out to be not a problem. And then what I found out was, you remember, this little thing I got last week, screwdriver, with a light. What I found out was that goes in there beautifully with all its bits. And so now I have plenty of room to put other stuff in there. But now I have my bits and pieces bag. How do you like that? Bits and pieces. Like it? Question, do you want to see what I built? Or are you just happy not knowing? And so I wish to discuss discuss controlling your stressors. Because when I started to build this a week ago, I couldn't get the wheels into the hole that they had pre-drilled because of my arthritis. That's why I needed a drill bit. And so what I did is I had to stop construction. Makes sense. So when I started construction, once I got the bits and pieces bag, right? Once I got it, it had just the right size bit for what I wanted. Yay, got the wheels on. And then there were all these bits, and I'm going, I wonder how they go together. I wanted to let you know that somewhere in my house are the instructions of how to put this together. Do any of you relate to that one? And, you know, for a second, you know, I start beating up on myself. Why didn't I put them away carefully? And I thought, I probably did. That's the problem. I didn't keep them with the project. I probably put the instructions away carefully. And maybe in my lifetime, I will find them. And I want to say that I burst out laughing because that's what I do. I burst out laughing and went, good job, you like jigsaw puzzles, Sal. And how difficult can it be? It's probably designed by a man. And so, you know, I literally put it together. Now, do you know what it is for? I wanted it so I could put my television on it in the bedroom. And the reason is because the television is on the side of the bed. And I don't know about you, there are times when I don't want to be lying sideways watching television. There are times I just like to sit up in bed and see it, you know, a lot straighter on. And so that's why I wanted this, so I can have the television on, and at night I can move it so I get a better angle. And then in the morning when I get up, I can put it against the wall and it's tidy again. What do you think? Good idea? I'm rolling it just so you can see it does roll. And so, thank you, little bag. Yes, it can hold a TV. And not only that, I'm hoping that it can also hold all my Wii stuff as well, but I'm still in the experiment stage on that one, which is part of my ongoing discussion with you today. And that is, I will get to that bit in a second. So I was actually quite pleased with that, to be quite honest. I was glad that I got it done. And you're surprised that it holds a TV. Well, I'm not talking a clunker TV. I'm talking, I'm not talking a 55-inch either. In my bedroom, I've got about a 32 maybe in my bedroom. And this is pretty strong. It's made of bamboo, but it's fairly strong. So actually was quite surprised. So that was one thing I unboxed. The other thing I unboxed, and I know this is going to sound really strange for you, I actually managed to get some pant hangers, ones with clips on them that I can hang up pants and shorts and stuff like that. I'm very excited. I've unpacked enough that this week I'll be able to move a couple of boxes and open up the second side to my closet. And that means I can really start putting stuff away now. Except I may need to buy some more regular hangers. I think I bought some, or I need to put more away. But anyway, I want to tell you the joy of having pant hangers. Not everybody gets an erotic experience from seeing pant hangers, but for me it was pant hangers, yay! It was just so exciting. I don't know why. Now I've got lots of updates on the garden. Let me think here. What do I need to start with? First of all, remember the story about the onion, and that when we put it in water, the roots all grew and it started to grow from the top. Okay? A most peculiar thing happened, and I don't know why, and I was wondering if any of you know why. As the roots grew, the onion was sucked into the water. And I say that because after a month, the onion was soft. And there was like all the strength in the onion disappeared. Anybody know why? And I felt like it had leached into the water for some reason. I got to discuss it because maybe somebody there is a botanist or whatever and knows why. I'd love to know. So we won't be doing that experiment anymore. Now, I did try something new. For those of you who saw my hydroponic starting, you might wonder, why am I doing hydroponics? That's hydro as in water, growing in water rather than growing in the soil. Did any of you wonder, why is she doing that when she's got a 3-tiered vegetable garden? I wanted to tell you for a number of reasons. One of them is because I can. It's fun for me. But there is another one, because if you think about that, how much water do I waste watering my garden? Right? In other words, a lot of soil gets watered, but how much water is actually needed to water the plants that I have or that I need? That's what I started to think about. And that's why I'm thinking about growing hydroponically rather than in soil. Now, some things I will put in soil, to be quite honest. But, what I'm looking at is, can I do it hydroponically and use far less water? And I believe that I can. Now, I also, being who I am, thought about, those of you who saw my little hydroponic setup here, This is the one you can buy, one that looks like this. But being who I am, I thought, you know me well enough to know that I'm pretty sure you don't have to buy that. So I did a bit of research for you. The first thing I wanted to let you know is that these systems come with these little containers, if you like, little goodies. And this is like a sponge that goes in it, right? It's like a sponge. Well, you know me, I'm going sponge. Got those. So I then did a bit of research and said, can you grow seeds in a sponge? And you can. So to prove it, because I know that you like the experiments as much as I do, otherwise you wouldn't watch me. This is a pepper, or 3 pepper seeds, I think. And in here, just for the fun of it, I put a lemon seed. Now, I thought I'd mention that if you want to grow a lemon seed or anything that has a kernel, you know, the hard outside, like any citrus fruit or a lot of fruits generally have a kernel. And so just remember to break the kernel before you try and get it to grow, because otherwise you'll be waiting a long time. So I just took my pliers and did that. And I even did that, for example, I had some prunes, and guess what? They still had the stones in them. And so I just cracked them, and now we'll see if that grows. So this is just literally, this one isn't on a sponge, but what I've done is I've started to put things in a sponge. How do you do that? Simply. So for those of you who might be interested, I took a dollar store type sponge. You know, it's not anything fancy, it's just a regular sponge. And then I cut it up into smaller pieces. And then I took a sharp knife and cut it halfway. So now you can see I can talk to you with it. Hello, I'm a sponge. Okay, so then all I did was, the first thing I did was to make sure it was saturated with water by pressing it down in water until it absorbed as much water as it could. And then I opened it up like that, and I put a couple of seeds in and let it close. And then I put it in a little baby greenhouse. How many of you going? Only Sal. So now I will let you know if anything grows. It was fun to do. But what I thought was, if it works, and I think it will, a lot of you could save a lot of money. Let me think. So then I thought, what if I grow my lettuces? You know, by the way, whenever you want to regrow a lettuce or something, only use 2/3 of it, all right? Always leave at least 1/3 of the lettuce. So here I've got a romaine lettuce that I've just put on a bed of sponge. And when I want to water it, I just press it down, causing the sponge to absorb the water that's at the bottom here. Make sense? Shall I do that again? I just go, and then the sponge goes, it takes in the water. And you can see it's already starting to grow. Can you see that at the top there? Right there. Be careful about the amount of heat. Lettuces actually don't like heat too much. So I'm going to keep that not in the window. I'm not going to keep it in the window because it gets too hot there. And so you're going to try the sponges. I had a feeling some of you will be going, Jody, you wanted to try some of the herbs. Now, the one thing you're probably asking me is, what about that light? What about the light, Sal? Okay. So we all know that these have all got lights on them. So I did a bit of research for you. And any white light LED will do. Or if you can get a full spectrum daylight light, that's even better. But quite honestly, if you've got what they call a white light LED, that will do. I have a lot of seeds growing over there that are just on my bookcase. Oh, some fell over. Let me see what I did. I moved it today. Now these I've got growing on earth, and I want to explain to you why I'm coming away from growing things on earth. But these are seeds that literally, with my mini greenhouse, right? These took I think this is a week now that it's taken. Oh, I know. Hang on a second. April the 4th, I put the seeds in. That's the 11th. And look, this is kale. It's growing. Now, how many of you going, kale's nice to have in your salad? Jody? Mini greenhouse. On a sponge would also work. However, once the roots start to grow, then we need a hydroponic way for them to grow. And I will talk more about that if you're interested next week. You're into the lesson. It was fun doing the research, though. I'm going, Jody would like to know that. But if you've got the money, obviously, get yourself a hydroponic system. I think more and more people will be doing that. I tried to think, what do I want in my salad? And I've got mint growing already. I've also got baby mint that's going to be growing, but I've already got mint growing, and mint can take the heat, so it can stay there. I definitely like to have fresh lettuces, but I've got those out now on my porch, covered, so it's not as cold now, but it's cold enough, and it won't get as hot in the summer. So, and it gets a breeze through there, so that's, they won't be in the blistering sun. So I think that's a better place for them. And that's what I'm thinking about. What do I like to eat in my salads? And as you know, I like to use mint. I put mint in with my water every day. I've got lemon in there. Sometimes I put limes, and then I put some mint in there. And I use mint for a couple of those small leaves in my salads that I make every day, because it tastes great. That's why. Why not? And so there we go on the gardening section. I can put that out of the way now. So I've got a couple of updates for you. First of all, when I was building the trolley, cart, whatever you call it, in whatever country you're in, and anybody from England or Ireland are going to call it a trolley, but the people in the States are going to call it a cart, and I have to call it both to keep everybody happy. Okay, so I did break a nail. See that one? I broke it. And it was really jagged and nasty. And do you think I could find a nail file? Now, you and I both know that when I was in the temporary housing for 6 months, I had to buy myself more nail files because mine were all in the bathroom, and the bathroom was what got destroyed. And you all know that I brought everything from that place to this one. So somewhere in the house, I knew I had nail files, but do you think I could find them? And what I realized was that means that I have not properly unpacked everything. Somewhere in my bathroom, I have got something that I just sort of put away as it was without actually double checking what was in there. It took me until lunchtime today, but I found the nail file, so we're on a roll here. Now, the other thing was, I was showing you, I think on Friday, about this mini dustbuster thing that I got on an unboxing. Let me get it away from the thing. And I said, I was a bit worried because it was so small until I heard the power of that. And it actually has been impressing me with the power. But I found something else really useful. It's got this little thing. It's for cleaning cars, apparently. But it's got this nice little one. But something? I find that when I'm walking through the house, there is that piece of whatever on the floor. I can now just literally go past it with this. I don't even have to bend. It is just the right length. And I can, when I finish at night, I can go, look at that. Little crumb under there. I think I'll have that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Look at another crumb. I could be here all day. So you're doing, but isn't that what Clarence the cleaner's job is? That's my robot. Clarence the cleaner goes once a week to pick up, or maybe twice a week actually, to pick up all my hair that I can't see. That is perfect for just, when you're doing the tidy up in each room and then, starting your day. I just literally go from room to room and just go, what needs to be tidied up? And works really well. I was very happy. All right, moving on. I went, it works. I love it. I haven't got near the car. I will try that. It's coming up on my list. Joy. I had some joy between Friday and today. In fact, quite a bit of it. I got to tell you, in all honesty, I'm beginning to get joy walking through the house. There have been a couple of moments where I have surprised myself because I've walked, from my bedroom through the craft area to the kitchen. And I can, in my bedroom, I can see all of the carpet now. There are no boxes on the carpet anymore. And that pleases me. It makes me joyful. And then I go to the craft room. There are no boxes in there anymore. I go to the fireplace area. There are no boxes in there anymore. I go to my living room. There are no boxes there anymore. You understand? It's beginning to feel like home in those areas. However, the studio still has 60. So we'll be working on that. I need to keep at it. I need you guys to help me. Please make sure you ask me every week to report how many boxes I have left in that studio. But before I can unpack them, I need to finish building the unit that I have bought to put things in. I thought you probably would be amused, and some of you will relate to this. It's the little things that you unpack that give you the greatest joy. Don't know why. I don't know why that is. And Jeannie, you have to replace everything. So, one thing you're not going to have, if you think about that, you are not going to have any decisions to make about what to throw away. God did that for you. You literally have downsized and you will not buy as much as you had. All right, Nasha. All right, not a problem. You know where to find the rest of the program when you wake up again. Yeah, Jody's saying that's a turning point, to say that you're starting to feel joy at home again. I really do need to, and I wanted to make sure that you understood that's happening. And the little things. I found my metal ruler. Go figure that would make me joyful. But, I was like a kid who'd just been given cotton candy. I'm going, yay, my metal ruler. I literally took it and put it carefully. I know where it is. I put it away carefully, but I know where. All right, next comment. Did we talk about dryer sheets in the air vents? Did I talk to you about that? I really do recommend doing that for a number of reasons. One of the things I noticed was in my air vents, even though they've all been cleaned, there was a lot of sawdust in there, which means that after they cleaned the air vents, there still was a lot of sawdust in the air, and it got sucked into the system. And so now what I'm doing is systematically going to each air vent We need a name. Dusty. Dusty will do, right? So I'm now going to each air vent with Dusty, the dustbuster, which isn't a dustbuster. I have no idea what make it is. Anyway, and now I am going and re-cleaning out those vents. And then, just in case, I am then putting dryer sheets around the actual vent cover and holding it all together like this before I drop it back in. And there are two reasons for that. Number one, it acts as a filter, an extra filter of stuff not coming back at me. I'm allergic to sawdust. And so I need to stop as much sawdust as I possibly can. And so I'm doing that. But the other reason I like it, and I've always done it, is because if you want your house to smell nice, it's really great just to go and spritz a little bit of air freshener onto the air vent, and the dryer sheet will catch it. And then every time the heating system kicks in, you've got this great smell coming into your house. So just a thought. Had some frustration this week. Well, between Friday and now. So, part of my goal for this week was to get televisions going. Well, I want to tell you, I got the one in my bedroom all hooked up, and it's going, but do you think the remote would work? I'm sitting there and I'm going, all the thing going, this surely. And then I thought, well, maybe I got the wrong remote. So I got the other one and I tried that. No, that doesn't work. So I have a word of advice for you all. If ever you go through this and you have to put your TVs back together again, please remember that they take out the batteries from the remotes to store your stuff. They take out all the batteries out of everything to put your stuff in storage. Took me a little while before I went, what else could possibly cause that? And I'm going, batteries? How many of you can see that happening? Anyway, and then I got the television working and the remote working. It was so exciting. Oh, by the way, one thing I really recommend, hang on a second. This little gizmo has saved me more money than you can believe. This is just a battery tester. I have to tell you that when I got everything back into my laundry room, one of the things there was a whole bag of used batteries, a baggie, like this big. Why? Because as I use my batteries, I chuck them all into a baggie and I leave them for 6 months. It's amazing how many of them recharge themselves over 6 months. Maybe not enough for a perfect battery, but for just a remote or something where you can just change it regularly. Easy to change, right? And so this, of all the batteries that I had and that were in storage for 6 months, I think 5 I had to throw away. And there were probably 50 there. But the rest of them had over 3/4 of a charge when I tested them. So for those of you who don't have a battery tester, consider the investment. You'll be surprised how many times it's you save yourself a lot of money on that one. So that's my money saving tip for the day. All right, let me see what else I got for you. I've got a lot of stuff for you today. All right, what did I do with my pokey stick? There we go. Right, so we did that. Nearly there. Joy, we did. Okay. It is about the Amazon people, the delivery drivers. I don't know about you, but I get very frustrated when they leave everything in full sight of everybody. That makes me angry. It's like, this is a robbery waiting to happen. Luckily, I'm in a pretty good neighborhood, but even so. So what I did was I opened up my screen door. You know, I've got my front door, but I've also got a screen door. So I opened up the screen door and then made a notice and said, Amazon delivery, please put any parcels behind the screen door. You know, at least I've got one degree of protection. And you'll be amazed how many have still put it in front of the screen door. And I'm just seeing, you know, at the moment, I must admit it's an improved system. I would say probably 80% are managing to read the instruction and understand the word behind. But how many of you know this is now a big joke with me? Let me see what I've got and where is it? You know, I'm still fighting the 2 boxes a day unpacking because, you know, I'm getting at least 2 coming from Amazon every day. So my 2 boxes a day, I'm being very strict with myself. That is over and above whatever comes in from Amazon. Now then, I got the big TV was on my list, right? The big TV, when I say the big TV, that's the one that's got Roku on it and everything else. And I got that working. And I cannot tell you the joy of when I actually, you know, turned something on and it worked. And I got CNN and I'm going, that works. Okay, and now can I get Roku, right? And then putting all those bits in and then pressing the button and going, yay, I got Roku. Because that means I can lie on my couch now and watch something before I go to bed. And then it was like, can I get my Wii machine working? And for some reason, I couldn't get it working on my state-of-the-art TV. You know, that's not a smart TV, it's a regular one, but it should. So I'm still not finished with that yet. I've got to work that out. But I did get it working on my smart TV. So but what I noticed was there was a real problem getting the remotes to work. It was okay if I walked right up to the TV and did it, but if I was more than a couple of feet away from it, they weren't working. And I'm going, it's not a battery thing. So what is it? And I've got a mind that does jigsaw puzzles. So I'm all the time going, what could it be? Check that. No, it's not that. What else could it be? Plan C. No, it's not that. Okay, what else could it be? I got down to about plan E before. This was the television set. And I didn't realize until much later that the tiny little bar for my Wii machine, it's like a little sound bar, was sitting like this in front of it. Hiding the little red light that apparently is what the remotes connect with. When I removed that bar, it all worked beautifully. How many of you going, you have to have great patience to get things to work? And I was thinking, how much of all this that I'm doing is about pacing yourself in life, all right? Not to get too frustrated. You're going to work it out eventually. Is it really critical? And that's what I keep saying to myself. Is this really critical for today? Or can I sleep on it and think about other options and try and get it worked out tomorrow? Yes, Jeannie's saying that she and York want to live peacefully alone and not take on other people's big problems. And I think there are a lot of people who feel like that, Jeannie, but I also believe that we will still live in the world, all right? I think part of what the pandemic has done is made us all more comfortable with being isolated, all right? I think that's something that the pandemic has done. We are more comfortable like that now. Yes, Jody, the bar was hiding the bit that I needed to connect it all to. And I was thinking, isn't life like that a little bit? How many of you are going that we keep complaining about, I can't get this done, I can't get this done, and we don't realize we're hiding it ourselves, all right? We are actually, if you like, creating our own problem. And I kept thinking about the Ramadan thing, Jody, and going, yeah, we call that intermittent fasting now. And it is healthy, even though it sounds like it's not. And it is healthy. And it does work, right? And Jeannie's saying, she's got two relatives that are asking us things we cannot do. I want to tell you something. Talk to Pat about that one. Pat realized when Pat, you don't see her name here very often, but she listens to a lot of the broadcasts and it's been a loyal viewer for a very long time. Oh, too late, Jeannie. You meant to put that up at the beginning. But, one of the things that Pat found is that, by listening to our broadcast, one of the things she realized was she doesn't take on those things anymore. All right. And you know what I found really useful to say to people, I'd love to be able to say yes to that, but I can't. Or yes, I'd love to do it, to be able to help you, but I can't. Because there's one thing that they ask. Doesn't mean you have to agree to anything. And don't feel badly. It's not about feeling badly. There is no point in feeling badly. How to be kind but firm. Yes, get these words down, Jeannie. Firm, fair, and friendly. Yes, I would love to. It's probably a true statement. Unfortunately, with all that has gone on, I am unable to. That's what I say to people. In a normal world, I'd love to say yes to that, but quite honestly, I can't. Sorry. Move on and then change the subject. Don't stay on the subject. Just move on. Because people use you far more than you realize, all right? Jody, when I first met Jody, she was an absolute pretzel for absolutely every. Well, Jeannie, I hope it helps you. But I think you're a yes person, not a no person. Am I correct on that one? Everything about you says that you like to say yes to people. And so one thing I've always said when I was on stage a lot, and I'd say, where are the people in this room that actually have a real problem with saying no? And it's amazing how many people put their hands up and I say, don't say no. If it's that difficult, don't say no. Say yes. Yeah, I had the feeling you were. Say, yes, I'd love to, but unfortunately, the answer has to be no at the moment. With what's going on in my life, I've got to say no. Not easy for me, but that's what I need to say. So start by saying yes. Yes, I'd love to. And then talk reality. It works. It works surprisingly well. I've had people say that to me, or people will say to me, I'd really like if you could do X, Y, and Z, and I'll just laugh and I go, something? And I'd really like Brad Pitt, and I'm not going to get him either. And so it's like, let them find somebody else. You're off the list. And Jody will tell you from her experience that it actually takes a little bit of practice at the beginning. But am I right, Jody? It's a lot easier once you start doing it. All right, Kimmy's saying, I say no, and then people push. And that would be because they can push you, all right? And you probably continue the conversation instead of saying, what was it about the word no that was difficult? No is a complete sentence. No. Well, why? I do not have to justify it. The answer is no. Yes, and Jody's saying it takes patience and practice. But Kimmy, you're doing well. I know that you're another one that when I first met you, I don't think no was in your vocabulary, quite honestly. You always wanted to say yes, and we all want to say yes. that we want to help everybody, but we, really. No wonder we're stressed out. Jenny's saying, do not repeat. My daughter wants to... I'm not going to carry on. I just realized what you mean. Okay. I got it. Sorry. So the whole thing is that we need to know our limitation. We need to know pacing our stressors, all right? And that is what I really beg you to concentrate on this week, right? That we control what stresses us and to how much does it stress. Kimmy, I am so proud of you because you are doing so much better than you were when I first met you. And just keep practicing and keep patient. Every time you hear one of those things, don't get angry. Go, oh, another reason, another time to practice coming up. My next exam. Let's see how I do this time, right? Love to do it, but the answer is no, I can't. Well, why not? Because no, I don't have to justify it. The answer was no. Jenny, can I repeat that one? Because I'd like to discuss that. Kim is saying, I say no now, and I'm losing a lot of family and friends now. Quite normal. But if they cannot understand what no means, then it is, that's them. Yes, and Jeannie's saying, and by the way, well done, Kimmy. It's their problem, not yours. The answer is no. And Jeannie's saying that her husband York worries that she will have a heart attack from the stress. I want to say that unless you are demonstrating stress in a different way in your home than you do here, I want to say that I have been absolutely impressed with your ability to handle stress. If what you're telling us is true, and I have a feeling it is, York may worry, but you sound to me like you understand the stress, you understand how to pace it, and you understand you are not superhuman. Do you feel you're going to have a heart attack from the stress? By the way, how many people would have had a heart attack from the stress that I had? Never mind yours. And it's about, can you compartmentalize the stresses? Can you pace, right? Can you pace the stress? And if you can, you will not have a heart attack. How many of you expect me to have a heart attack from the stress of having moved my house completely twice in 1 year? Yeah, it's like, at my age, how many people would not be able to handle that stress? And Jeannie is saying she does understand what I'm trying to describe about her. And she says, no, I feel all right. You see, I would like to say that it is really important that you know whether you are stressing out or not. And you'll be able to tell, Jeannie, from my experience, when you're stressing out, it's when you can't keep up, your mind can't keep up. All right. And you can't go to sleep at night properly because there's so many things. Whereas I find that when I sort of am doing a good job of throwing out the things that, yes, I will get them done, but they don't have to be done this week. What do I have to get done this week? And the other thing is, as Jody will tell you, because she and I talk every day, I have one thing that I concentrate on every day. And yesterday was finish the TV, get the second TV hooked up. You know what I mean? It's like I will work at it for a couple of hours, and if I haven't achieved it in a couple of hours, it's called enough. It has to wait now. I'm moving on. Because I found when I can keep the variety going, Jeannie, I don't know if you found that, that it's really good. Now, I've noticed that Jody has a really good system as well that I'd like to make sure we talk about before I finish here. Jody keeps all her telephone calls for one day. That, obviously there are others during the week, but the majority of the telephone calls she does them on Mondays. In other words, she gets rid of all those sort of niggling telephone calls, and she does them. I pay bills on Sundays. Don't know why, but it works for me. It's like, finish the broadcast and I'll sit down with a nice cup of coffee or whatever, and then I will pay my bills for the week. So think about that. Just, you've got so much going on. And by the way, Jeannie, from my experience, you remember all those contractors that all wanted me waited 5 months to ask me a question and then expected me to answer all of them in a matter of 24 hours. Now, I wasn't playing that game with anybody. I did my best, but your lack of planning does not have to be my stress. Jeannie, will you remember those words? Their lack of planning does not have to be your stress. And, as you get to those final parts, it's going to happen. I'd like to say that stress is part of our lives. Pacing how much stress we take on every day. How many of you know playing with sponges is part of my stress relief? You do know that, right? Being creative, going hydroponics. Not everybody can afford this little gizmo. Maybe I can show them that they can make their own. By the way, Jody, it's going to drip, but never mind. My parsley was falling over, and so I found the little sponges very useful for helping it stand up. And that pleased me. It made me laugh, and therefore it was stress relief. And so I urge you all, make sure your day is filled with different things. Even if you've got a major thing going on that you have to deal with. Jody, you have a major thing going on all the time with your health issues and the documentation. But I know that you have learned to pace yourself on that. And I'm pretty certain that you will agree that doing a little bit regularly is the way to do it without stress. And if you wait too long, then it's more stress. And we pretend that we're okay with that stress, but really, I don't think so. And so to me, my biggest job every day, if you could see my to-do list, it's probably not as bad as Jeannie's, but if you could see my to-do list, it's very long. And my biggest job every day is to knock half of it off. And then probably only do a quarter. And I do a lot in a day. I have to say, I'm quite proud of how much I get done. But it is not anything like what I plan to get done because, I'm insane about how much I think I can do. Yes, Kimmy, I'm not sure if I meant to repeat that or not because it's a financial thing. So I'm not surprised that you are stressed about that. But it's not your fault that it went to another company, am I correct? And now you've got to wait to get it back. I would not wait. I would tell them, I'm sorry, but I have another bill to pay. I need my money back, and I need it now. Well, it takes us 21 days. I understand that's for everybody else, but I need this back in a hurry. I am somebody who is living in, this situation, and I would really cry if I had to, Kimmy. By the way, I can remember one time, Kimmy, just so that you know, when my mother had to go into ICU, and they wouldn't, this was in another country, and they wouldn't let her into ICU unless I paid about $5,000. They wouldn't even take her into ICU unless I put down $5,000. And then 24 hours later, I had to take her out of that place and put her into another hospital because of the attention she needed. And I went to get my $5,000, Kimmy. And they said, oh, we're sorry, that takes 21 days. I said, oh, no, you're not playing that game. You're not holding my money for 21 days when you wouldn't give my mother the ICU support she wanted until I paid you. I want to tell you, I am staying in your foyer here, and I am going to get louder, not quieter. And I am going to make a lot of trouble for you until I get my check back. Your choice as to how much trouble you want me to cause. By the way, it's my money, and I need it because I don't have another 5,000 for the next hospital. I wouldn't pray that you get it back, Kimmy. I would make sure I get it back. You understand the difference? Just tell them you need that money in your bank account, in the next 4 days. And if they say, oh, we can't do that, keep going up the line until you find somebody who can do it. And say, I'm really, and don't be nasty, be firm, fair, and friendly. And say, I am so sorry. I wish I could wait for the next 2 weeks to get it back, but I can't. And I didn't make the mistake. If you didn't, by the way, if you made the mistake, you probably still can do it. But, if they made the mistake, you definitely should get attention. All right? And, I'd like to say that as much as I trust God, praying that you'll get it back might not be as quick as actually demanding that you get it back in a nice, fair, and friendly way. Got it? I don't think that we need, I don't think it's fair that we keep asking God to do it when it's our job. We are responsible for getting it back. He's not. Just my thinking. All right, this is DearMamaSal saying, I hope you found something of value in today's broadcast. And if you did, let me know. And if you did, please leave notes below so that other people know that there is some value in the broadcast. This is DearMamaSal saying, remember to look after one another, but please, 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 remember to look after yourself. Remember that we all have stress every day. How we deal with it, as we have discussed, will determine whether we have heart attacks or not. How we deal with it will determine whether we end up sick from stress. Or will we just go, I'll do what I can. The world is not going to stop if I don't. Jeannie, you do not have to have everything back in time. All right? As I'm finding, I'm buying things as I need them, not because I lost them. I'm buying them now. I'm going, what do I need next? And that's what I'm doing. And I haven't been paid yet. I'm just doing it within my limitations. And, even some of them I will have duplicated because it's more stress for me not to have. Daphne the drill. Makes sense? Or Dusty the dustbuster. I look at what do I need to stop me stressing. I don't care if it doesn't make sense to anybody else. What do I need to stop me stressing? I knew I couldn't build the trolley unless I had a drill bit, and I wanted it. And in today's world, I can get hold of Amazon and I can have it within hours. This is DearMamaSal saying, have a great week. Cope with the week, whatever it throws at you, because that's what we do together. Thank you all for supporting me. And I am having a lot of fun. And my little hydroponics, you will get updates on it all the time to see what works and what doesn't. And remember, seeds grow in sponges. By the way, I do give them nutrients. That's important. In other words, I do put hydroponic nutrients into the water. Right? You've got to feed them with something. So here we go. let me get out of here. You know I could talk all night. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for being here. Hope you found something of value, and we'll see you on Friday. Bye-bye for now.